ومؤمنا يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا ليتنا إن كنا معكم سيدي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. صلوات على محمد وعلى آله. اللهم صل على محمد. The question of whether modern life and religion is compatible has been an ongoing discussion and a thought that has occupied the minds of many for a long time. Modernity has been looked at as an obstacle to religion, and being religious has been looked at as being an obstacle to being modern. People nowadays say that if you claim to be religious, then it's impossible for you to be modern. And on the contrary, they say the exact same thing on the opposite. They say if you want to be modern, it's impossible if you want to be religious. And number one, just to lay this on the floor, I don't blame those people. I blame those who have ruined the reputation of Islam through the ways they have depicted this fabulous religion. Nowadays we have this idea that a religious person should have nothing to do with technology. A religious person shouldn't know what iPod is. A religious person should never in his life be introduced to headphones. People have these concepts nowadays. And media has depicted such an idea of religious people is that whenever you hear the word religion in your head, immediately, what do you think of? Do you think of a doctor, a professor? No, of course not. You think of a man with a big beard with 9 wives and a camel. Why? Very serious, on a serious note. People have been able to infiltrate through religion and manipulate it to such an extent that they were able to depict this idea of religion. Yet the question arises, has religion come to be something separate from life? Is religion and life something totally opposite on two sides of the poles? Or did religion come to complete life? And is life a part of religion? The question is what? The question is modern life compatible with religion? Because many people come and pose the question, something that came over 5,000 years ago from the day of Adam, how do you expect me, from the day of Ibrahim, how do you expect me to apply it in my daily life? A world of technology, a world of advancements, a world where inventions are being brought about every now and then. People say, how am I supposed to apply this religion to myself if it's not something that is in the tune with march of time? To answer this question, you first need to understand what is modern. What is modern? How can I judge if Islam is something modern if I don't know what modern is? Modern can be defined in two terms. Number one, the will of the majority. The will of the majority. If the majority is doing something, it's considered to be modern. Number two, anything in tune with the march of time. And both of these can be refuted. Why? Because human nature is what? Human nature is that I like to prefer the new to the old. This is human nature. You can't blame humans for their nature. This is intrinsic within us. We automatically prefer the new to the old. If I brought you, for example, this cup of water, and I told you this cup of water has been here for 2 days, and then I bring you something that's fresh out of the bottle, what will you prefer? Obviously the first, not the water, the new one. Why? Because this is human nature, it's within us. We automatically prefer the new to the old. But this generalization can be made in all situations and in all experiences. Why? Because not always the modern is better than what came before it. I'll give you a very simple example. 2 times 2 equals 4. Inshallah, you all knew. 2 times 2 equals 4. Now, can somebody come forward and say, okay, well, this equation has been used for thousands of years. This equation has been used ever since the day of Adam. And it has become obsolete, and we should discard it and cast it away, simply because it has been used for thousands of years. Can anybody come and say this? No. Despite the fact that 2 times 2 equals 4 has been this equation for thousands of years, we still use it today. Likewise with social life and civil codes that have come, we use them. It's part of us, despite the fact that it has become something old and obsolete. Now the question comes to religion. Are we able to apply religion to our lives despite the fact that it came thousands of years ago? I gave 2 definitions for the word modern. What did I say? The first was the will of the majority. Now I ask you a question. Is the will of the majority always parallel with truth and reality? Absolutely not. I think it's in here in Sacramento. They have legislated gay marriage. Is it in Sacramento?
Yes.
Sacramento. They have legislated gay marriage, homosexuality. Now I ask you a question. Even though the majority has accepted it, is homosexuality something correct or not? Not only is it something incorrect and illogical, but it goes against the very nature of mankind. It goes against the nature. Number 1, the will of the majority isn't always parallel with reality and truth. Number 2, anything in tune with the march of time isn't always correct. Why? Because time isn't shaped by who? By us, correct? Advancements are made by man, not by animal, by us. And is man infallible? Absolutely not. This indicates what? This indicates that just like time isn't shaped by man, and man isn't infallible, then time isn't always correct. Time isn't always on the straight path. Time isn't always on Sirat al-Mustaqim. And that's why you begin to ask the question, is religion able to be applied to the 21st century? Something that came 5,000 years ago. Is it able to cater our needs today? Today and now in this modern age, an age of technology, an age of advancements, is it able to be able to understand this concept? You need to understand that there's 2 kinds of laws in Islam. Number 1 is that Islam is the religion of nature. Islam is the religion of human nature. For the past 2 nights I've mentioned that Islam is Deen al-Fitrah, the religion of this pure disposition that Allah has given every human being. Fitratullah allati fatara an-nasa alayha la tabdila li khalqillah. Allah has given every single human being this pure nature. And as long as this pure nature exists, Islam would be able to cater the needs of our needs today. Why? Because Islam is the religion of nature. Now what does it mean when I say Islam is the religion of nature? This means that Islam is dictated by my nature. Go to Christianity. You'll find that they propagate what? Celibacy. Celibacy is what? Celibacy is the fact that if you reach such a spiritual state, you're not allowed to get married. That's why you find many priests, they're not married. Why? Because they believe that once you reach such a spiritual state, you'll begin to practice celibacy, and this gets you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Islam has come and said what? Islam said this is illogical. This goes against the very nature of human being. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? He says, I encourage marriage. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I encourage marriage. Why? Because if Fatima Zahra, the greatest woman of the skies and the earth, reached the highest of spiritual states anybody can, and she herself married to Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, then why is it that we ourselves disregard ourselves from marriage? And are we even close to Fatima alayhi salam? No. Allah says, وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He has placed between you and them mawaddah, love and kinship. And that's why you find even non-Muslims, now we're not talking about Muslims here, non-Muslims would come and admit the fact that Islam is the most universal religions of any religions out there. I just mentioned there's two kinds of laws. Let me get back to that. The first kind of law is you have the fixed laws. Laws which can't be changed. Hajj, Salah, Sawm. From Adam till today, we practice these laws. And then you have the alterable laws, the dynamic laws. Laws which are able to be changed. Laws which you and I can play around with. In what sense? Not up to us, but to the general institution that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given authority. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. And those who have authority over you. Now I ask you the question, if we have modern issues which we can't deal with today, you go into hadith, you go into sunnah, the Holy Prophet didn't speak about it. Issues like business, like transportation, interest, if I want to have plastic surgery, there's no hadith or Quran that speaks about these issues. That's up to the wilayah. Wilayat al-ummah. Those who have guardianship over us, it's up to them to deal with it. Because otherwise somebody will come and say that Islam doesn't deal with these issues. How can I follow a religion which doesn't cater to my needs today? Allah has said those who I have given authority, it's their job to deal with those issues. But do they do it from their own desire and from their own lust? No. Through divine law and through sharia, they come up with a verdict that is able to cater our needs. And that's why you find Bernard Shaw, this system of dynamic and alterable, go to any religion, go to Christianity, go to Judaism, with all due respect to both religions. Both are divine religions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But go to any religion, you won't find such a beautiful system such as Islam. Why? Because the same way as it's able to provide you with universal laws, it has given you the option of alterable laws which cater our needs today in the 21st century. And that's why Bernard Shaw has come and said what? And I quote, he says, I have always held the religion of Muhammad in high estimation because of its high. Bernard Shaw, a non-Muslim, one of the most highest and revered writers of our time. What does he say? He says, I have always held the religion of Muhammad in high estimation because of its high vitality. It is the only religion, which seems to me to possess that assimilating capacity to the changing phase of existence, which can make itself appeal to every age. Who is this speaking? Bernard Shaw. Once you understand this beautiful system of Islam, this system of dynamic and fixed laws, you'll understand that Islam is a religion that's able to be applied in all areas, in all nations, in all ethnicities as well. Bernard Shaw has admitted this fact. Yet the problem, my dear brothers and sisters, and this is where I'd like to get to, is that Islam is a universal religion. Islam has come with universal laws. But what makes Islam seem to be limited is not the religion, but the culture that we interfere with religion. And I'd like to emphasize on this today, the concept of culture. Many times people take a part of culture and they'll take a part of religion. They'll mix it all together and label it all as Islam. This is a problem. This is a huge problem. Because when a non-Muslim is coming to learn about Islam and you have mixed culture with religion, mixed it all together, you've put it in the blender, and then you say it's labeled all as Islam, this non-Muslim comes and he says, okay, so what's Islam? What's this? He goes to some communities, he finds that the boys and girls are totally segregated from each other. One side doesn't even know if the other side exists. And then you go to other communities, you find no, mellow jello all together. One side is texting the other. One side is calling the other. One side is blowing kisses to the other. What's going on here? He begins to have this confusion in his mind. He says, is Islam a religion that segregates boy and girl interaction, or is it a religion that allows them to assimilate? Does it allow them to assimilate or not? And that's why you find, my dear brothers and sisters, we need to be able to prioritize between culture and between religion. Because religion is supposed to inshape culture. Culture isn't supposed to inshape religion. What do I mean by that? Many times we prioritize culture over religion. And this is indeed a big problem. Why is that? Because when I bring something that has no religious background at all, and induce it and inject it into my religion, what have I done? I have messed around with the divine system. I have messed around with the religion of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But don't get me wrong, please. I don't want anybody to be offended. Culture is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala if we know how to use it correctly. The Holy Prophet himself came with what? He came with a culture. مَا جَاءَكُمُ الرَّسُولُ بِهِ فَخُذُوهُ